Welcome, beautiful friends, to the Way of Mastery. We are deep into lesson number 3, the power of forgiveness. Very powerful, this forgiveness that Jeshua teaches us, isn't it? How many of you have had some big shifts since we started this lesson? Wow, that's everybody. Hallelujah for that. It's really important that, forgiveness as he taught it was to start with innocence. When it got institutionalized in religion, we turned it around and started with guilt, so much so that we were born into it. Isn't that pathetic? I mean, really, it's pathetic. You look at an infant, who can see sin there? It's ridiculous. So we start with innocence, and we see innocence from a place of innocence. So remember, forgiveness is fun, unlike the worldly forgiveness, which only added more guilt. That's why we didn't like doing it so much. Forgiveness is fun, and forgiveness is your freedom. When you forgive, you set yourself free, not only yourself, but you set everyone else free. Everyone benefits from your choice to forgive. So all we're really forgiving is all the illusions that we created as a self-identity and restoring our mind, our identity back to the Christ. Why wouldn't we want to forgive? Holy cow. So if there's a desire within to hold a grievance, just recognize that's ego. Don't beat yourself up for it. That's just the ego wanting to create separation because it's got to hold a grievance against someone else. It's not about the grievance. We love to look at it and we analyze it. It's like a Rubik's Cube, but we got to figure it out. All of that's just a distraction so that you create the separation. So the specifics don't matter. Just let go of them and let them be. So analyzing is not necessary. If you want to do it, that's fine. But there's no need to dig up the past. You're set free in every moment of true forgiveness. So we're going to go, this will be 3C, the third time we've deepened this lesson. We'll finish it next week, and then we'll do the channeling of lesson number 4 the week after that. So we'll get started with the, whoops, jumped ahead. We'll start with the Lord's Prayer. You're welcome to do this any way you want, but I would suggest to just relax. Don't do anything. Let the prayer arise within your being. Remember, you're not actually hearing it with your ears. That's what we all think when we're bodies. But this prayer is arising within your being. So feel it as much as you hear it. So just relax and do absolutely nothing.
Awun, the Boshmaya, Nita Kadash Shema, Tete Malkuda, Nere Sivinach, Akana, the Boshmaya, O Baraha, Haulan, Lachman, Sunkanan, Yamana, Boshwoklan, Halpin, Akana, Dapanan, Shwakin, El Hayabin. Ula talan el mission, el pasan en bisha. But had la him el kuda, uhaila, utish bhakta. La alam. Amen. Amen.
That's good stuff. So remember, on this pathway, Jeshua is trying to correct our state of being. He says, make your home in the breathing, which just is a technique of getting you present. And if you've noticed, if you can focus on your breathing, usually that will stop the chatterbox. So breath first, heart and feeling in the middle, and mind last. Mind becomes the caboose instead of the locomotive that's been driving everything. So if you don't understand, it's okay. Don't fret about trying to understand. Just breathe into it and know that all that he's teaching us here is what we already are. You all already know it. This is just a class in remembrance. That's all it is. When we decided to pull the veil over our eyes and sleep the dream, we just put pathways like this in it so that we would find the way out. So it's only remembrance. It's not new theology. Don't get into anything like that. Are you ready? Thank you, Cindy.
Beloved friends, your life is your way home. If you do not live it fully, how can you ever arrive home? Therefore, fear not your greatness. Fear not the power that comes from embracing your life and claiming its value. Live it full out with every bit of passion you can muster. Embrace every second of it. Every time you wash your dish and your cup after breakfast, look upon these things and go, my God, this is my life. This is my pathway home, and I am going to live it. Indeed, precious friends, in this way, you will come to forgive yourself of the judgments you have made. For who among you has not known the feeling of saying, God, my life just isn't worth very much. I'll never be like so-and-so down the street, and I'll never have enough money, and not enough people are going to know me, and when will my work ever get out as big as that person's, etc., etc., etc.
Boy, you could put about 1 billion et ceteras after that, and we probably still would have more, wouldn't we? Our mind is chocked full of that kind of judgment. And we get caught up in what the words are saying to us in our mind. But again, that's all just a trick to create this perception that they're others. And we usually do that by either putting people on pedestals up above us or putting them down below us. Rarely do we look at anyone and say, I'm just like that one. I'm just like that one. When you wake up into your Christ nature, your Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it, it won't just be people are just like you. Everything will be just like you, the one. But right before in this paragraph where we closed last week, Jeshua was saying that every life is equal in majesty to any life that's ever been lived, including his. Now, we probably don't look at our own lives with that much grace and majesty, do we? But he's inviting us to. He's saying we're perfect equals. Let's take his word for it. We'll try it out. So, do not fear your greatness. How many of us have a list of greatness attributes like this, etc., etc., etc. at the bottom? Great. Thank you, Kathy, for having a long list of greatness. Yes.
No problem.
But how many of us have felt fearful of life itself? And he's asking us to live our lives full out. Full out. Not in fear of coloring within the lines, not in fear of the appropriate dress, not in fear of what anyone else thinks, but to live your life full out. I think it's so rare none of us would even have a clue what that really means, do we? So maybe we just join in the simple prayer. I don't have a clue what living life full is out, so I'd appreciate some guidance on that. Give me some direction. And how many of us think washing the dishes is, oh my God, this is my pathway home? I don't know about you guys, but I had a bunch of et cetera, about washing the damn dishes. But again, he's asking us to get present. And he talked in one of the earlier lessons about the mystery that is. And when you really get present and life itself starts to reveal itself to you through the most mundane and ordinary things that were right in front of you your whole life, and they start speaking to you of love and of grace and of the infinite and of the mystery that is what we are, you get really, really captivated by it. Very, very captivated. So he's saying live in our life is how we'll forgive our judgments. How many judgments have we built a life behind trying to protect ourselves rather than embracing life? Rather than letting life come to us. I mean, aren't we oftentimes trying to keep life away from us? And especially the kinds of life that tends to push our buttons. You know, we build little fences around ourselves to protect us. And part of this is to live your life and let those things push your buttons. Stop avoiding the things that you don't like because you're giving a situation or a circumstance incredible power over you. So face your fears. That's how you come to know they're not fears. That's how you come to conquer the whole concept of fear, is by facing them. And I don't mean engaging in conflict with them or whipping yourself for suffering, but engaging them and just saying, no more will fear have power over me. So I'm going to look upon everything that I was scared about with love and innocence, and it just kind of disappears. In comparison is only an egoic quality. There is absolutely no comparison within the Spirit. Zero. So whenever there's comparison, even be careful, because as it gets to be glorious comparison, so long as you're comparing, there's still some subtle form of separation. So all comparison is of the ego. And if you look within your consciousness, it's all over the place. I mean, you compare the comfort of one pair of shoes to another, and I mean, we just compare everything. That's kind of the whole dualistic consciousness.
But I say unto you, every time you've judged yourself, you have weakened yourself. Every time you have judged yourself or another, you have slipped down the mountain another notch, when your desire is to be at the summit.
Oh, I made another mistake on the things, didn't I? Wow, maybe I'll need your help with this. So every time, well, we just talked about this. Every time you've judged yourself, all you're doing is moving yourself further from your goal. And judgment, there's no value in it. It doesn't help at all. You know, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Let it go. Okay, we'll try this again, Cindy. Just do the first paragraph on this one, please.
Understanding these things, let us look more closely at forgiveness. How does it work? What really occurs when you forgive? You are a conduit of energy. To the degree that the conduit is in perfect working order, the energy can flow so radiantly that the conduit actually becomes transparent. That is, it no longer blocks. There is no barrier or limit to the light. When you judge, it is as though you contracted. You made the walls of the conduit smaller, just like building up rust in your pipes. And the flow becomes less and less. As you forgive judgments, it is as though the rust in the pipes were dissolving. It is as though the walls of the pipes that are carrying the liquid of God's love begin to expand and become thinner and more transparent. Judgment is contraction. Forgiveness is relaxation and peace and trust and faith.
So forgive, forgive, forgive. And you know, forgiveness doesn't need to take long. You can do it all in one fell swoop. It's another illusion of our egoic consciousness that it takes time to forgive, because we perceive that we've built up things to forgive over time. So we're rooted in the concept of time. You can forgive in one fell swoop and have it all be done. Just stop making judgments that then create new things to forgive. But it need not take long, and it need not be painful, unless you don't perceive that the power of your choice is adequate to do it in one fell swoop. So if you're going to forgive, get on with it, but you can do it in bulk, up to and including all of it, in one choice, if you believe the power of your choice is adequate to undo it all. And haven't we all felt the sting of this contraction of judgment? You can feel it when others judge you. You can feel it energetically, and it doesn't feel good. But when you wake up, those contractions will pass right through your infinite vastness, and they'll just disappear. You become like a vacuum, like a white hole. You know, your black holes are like where stuff goes in and is crushed or disappears. You become this like white hole where things are welcomed back home. You're just a conduit for this beautiful love to flow through you. And to each and every one of us. But how many of us have felt, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I started this path, I think my rusty old pipe, I couldn't see a dot of light in that pipe. I could see no light through that little tiny tunnel. I had become so incredibly contracted. But we're never doing this work on our own. You know, when you authentically get on your path, these things will start coming up into your awareness, giving you the opportunity to forgive. It's your choice. You can say, nah, I'm going to keep that, or I'll let it go. But I would really suggest you try this and let love start pouring through you, and let love live the life that you once thought was yours. Because I don't know about you guys, my life sucked. It was hard to live. I lived in fear. I lived under this incredible burden of responsibility. Whew, you can just give all of that away and forgive that you're the doer and the maker of anything. And let love take responsibility for doing all that stuff. So you are a conduit of energy. How many people would probably have perceived yourself in that way? An expression of the divine, which is infinite energy, really, manifesting itself in infinite number of forms. Gross forms like material stuff, and incredibly subtle forms in infinite numbers of expression. And as you become more and more open, you'll become more and more aware of those subtle expressions, even within the experience that we're having here. It's kind of like there's the one physical film strip that runs in your consciousness, but as you start to wake up, you recognize that there are multiple ones running all at the same time in this same, what we would call, realm. So your perception begins to expand beyond the body's 5 senses. And you start to perceive and see things through the spirit, which it's all there anyway. But as you become more and more open to that, more and more of that starts to come into your awareness. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it really is. It's really, really cool.
Forgiveness allows the spaciousness within your consciousness to grow. For when you look upon the thief that has broken into your home and say, I forgive you, you are decreeing the opposite of what you've learned. You are decreeing that nothing can be taken from you of any value. You are decreeing that judgment is the opposite of what you want, and it will cause you to feel the opposite of how you want to feel. You are decreeing your power to perceive differently. You are therefore healing yourself.
He said in the first lesson, the one thing we really need to learn is that there is nothing outside of us. If we perceive that we end at the edge of our skin, our consciousness is very, very small. Very, very small. So as we forgive and forgive and forgive, and we forgive not just things and situations and circumstances, but we begin to forgive concepts like time. We begin to forgive things, all beliefs, even that which even has the capacity to believe that it believes, if you will. So leave nothing unforgiven within your consciousness. It's this whole thing about emptying your cup out so that it might be filled. Your cup is full of all your beliefs and judgments and values. The good ones and the bad ones and the ones you think are really important and the ones you think are really spiritual. All of those things really need to go. Don't hold on to anything. Come with wholly empty hands. So what if you lived in forgiveness? What if you lived in a state that was unperturbable? Isn't that a choice? Where you can let no image on the screen of consciousness that happens within this dream or any other dream that might be disturb what you are? In enlightenment, when that consciousness that's always been there, the very base of your own consciousness, when it self-recognizes itself and the mind kind of disappears, you'll realize that's what's been going on the whole stinking time. You just didn't know it. That love has been the very basis of your being, and it has always rested in absolute perfect forgiveness. It's called silence. It's called the ground of being. It's called the kingdom of heaven. It's called the Buddha nature. It's called nirvana. It's called so many things. But it's already within you. Already there. And always has lived in a state of perfect forgiveness. Never has judged anything. All the judgments happened in the mind that seems to mysteriously arise up out of this ground of being and then identifies itself as a particular body. So you all know the contraction of judgment. You know how it feels. Why would you hit yourself in the head with a hammer? I mean, let it go. It doesn't, it feels good to let things go. It feels good to stay in peace and say, you know what? So something's happened. I'm going to choose to be in peace. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon of projection. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon of what the world says you're supposed to feel when these kind of things happen. Just stay at peace. It's a choice. You'll wake up to the point that you realize, oh my God, it's a choiceless choice, and it has always been there, and it's been happening effortlessly.
And if you ever want to come home, you're going to have to become very, very divinely selfish. You're going to have to become so selfish that you will not tolerate judgment in yourself of anyone or anything, because you will begin to recognize that every little act catapults you to the other side of the universe from where you want to be. It causes the very cellular structure. If you could see this, you would never judge again. When you judge, even the cells of your body go crazy. They vibrate in a completely dissonant way, and there is contraction. The fluids do not move through the cells. The nutrients do not become transported or delivered to the cells. The waste matter isn't processed properly. Everything gets clogged up, and there is disease.
Well, we all know that feeling. But haven't we sometimes felt that way and felt righteous and justified in holding on to that feeling? Or we turn that feeling around as some sense of self-punishment, like we deserve it? It's ridiculous how if you get the slightest little inkling of that, you should go, oh my gosh, I'm in contraction somewhere. Why would I just let go? Why wouldn't I just forgive it so that I don't need to feel that way? And that's how healing happens. Because all disease, no matter what form it is, whether it's mental or physical, is a result of contraction within your being. Not being at ease. When you judge, you're not at ease. When you're judged, you're oftentimes not at ease. So can you get to the point where you allow judgment to happen if someone's judging you? And oftentimes we don't really know whether they are. We perceive that they are, and then we make up a story about it. But just let it go. Why bother holding on to it? Divinely selfish. Haven't we all thought selfish was the worst thing to do? Weren't we all taught when we were kids, don't be selfish, don't be selfish, don't be selfish, don't be selfish. And he's saying be divinely selfish. Be the divine being that you are to the fullest extent possible. Now, in this world, we were taught, oh, no, how big an ego do you have to claim your divinity? I mean, that was like the ultimate ego trip. If you said, I and the Father are one. It's true. You're welcome to say it. I mean, it absolutely is the truth. But we were told, no, you can't do that. Only this one body that was named Jesus was that one. Now, he's told us in here over and over and over that we're actually perfectly equals with him. So are you willing to stand up and claim your divinity? And claim your expansiveness? And recognize that all the judgment in your being is the action of ego trying to restrict the infinite down to this one tiny little form that you call me. So don't take any ego shit. Certainly start with yourself. You don't have to take it from anyone else either. But you don't need to fight back, because that only makes it real. So don't tolerate judgment in yourself of anyone or anything. And that means no judgment, not judgment followed by bless their heart, like that's an erasing of the judgment. Or, they don't know any better after you've condemned them. And you'll see within your consciousness, there are all kinds of tricks to justify it. To say, oh, it's reasonable or it's legitimate. None of that is reasonable and none of it is legitimate.
Therefore, beloved friends, understand well that judgment is not something to be taken lightly. Should you then judge yourself if you've noticed you've been in judgment? No, that's a judgment in itself. Only love can heal. Therefore, when you know you've judged, go, yes, that's that energy. I recognize that cloud that just passed through the field of my awareness, but I can choose again. So how does this work? If in your ordinary daily life, that we now know is not ordinary at all, if you detect that you have been in a judgment of someone or something, recognize that that judgment is still with you. It's a present thing, even though you may have enacted it 5 minutes ago, or 55 years ago, or 10 lifetimes ago. When you notice it, bring awareness to it. You have made it a very present thing. So it's right there in front of you to be undone, and that's what you need to focus on. I'm going to choose again.
This is the thing that sometimes can be challenging on our path when we've suppressed a bunch of stuff, we've let rust clog up our pipes, and all of a sudden light starts streaming into our being and all that stuff starts coming up into our awareness. David was talking about that when he came in. He says, I finally decided to go all in on this awakening thing and oh man, all my shit's coming up. Well, that's the whole thing. Because no longer is there a decision in your being to say, I want to play separation, which you have to have your subconscious full of that stuff in order to pull off the whole separation. It's not that it's bad, it's just that's what we had to do. That's how we had to miscreate in order to perceive ourselves as other than what we were. So the cosmic housekeeper comes and starts cleaning out your hoarded consciousness of all that stuff. So it's easy to see it come up and go, oh my God, I was such an asshole to that person when I was 10 or blah, 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 blah. Rather celebrate and go, oh my God, that one's leaving. This is its last time I'll ever see this. It's on its way out of my consciousness and I can let it go. I don't need to hold it. I don't need to catalog it. I don't need to do anything except say, see you later. Bless it on its way out. It's really tempting. The ego will try this last ditch effort as your stuff all starts coming up to just start judging you for having it still in your being. It's just fear desperately clinging to say, I got to have something to hold on to. Because without all that stuff in your being, there'll be nothing but spaciousness. There'll be nothing but openness. There'll be nothing but peace. And why not? So, how many of us have heard of all these modalities where you, oh my gosh, we need to go back and do regressive stuff. And we need to, I'm not saying when this stuff comes up, you ignore it. If it comes up and it's nasty, you feel it. But you don't indulge it again. You don't have to relive it. You look on it and go, oh, sure, I would have had to have created this. That was part of my egoic thing. And I'm proud of myself for playing the ego game. And I don't mean this in a condescending way. That was the point of incarnation here, period, was to play out the whole thing of separation. And you know what? Every other being was in on the same game. So let everybody off the hook. Don't judge, just go, oh, sure, I see this. I've seen it, but it's here in front of me now because I asked to wake up and I have to wake up, so I'm going to choose again. I'm going to choose to let that go and not hold that energy. One of the miracle principles in A Course in Miracles is we forgive the past in the present and thereby create a new future. There isn't any past, but you're creating it based on everything that's held in your energy conduit, if you will. Everything that's held in your mind creates a past that you believe you've had, but it only exists within your mind. So as you forgive these things and let them go, you're undoing a past, and therefore you don't have to do those lessons again in the future. You're not going to continue to go round and round on the cycle, so to speak. by letting those things go. So when it comes up, you're creating it again. Out of your infinite capacity to create, you are recreating it. You're not having a memory of something that happened 50 years ago. You are recreating and making out of your infinite consciousness that experience and that feeling all over again. So that's why you're given the choice in that moment to undo that choice to value that kind of energy of contraction and judgment. And when you let it go, you'll start to see that all of a sudden your life, what seems to be out here, will start to change because you're not having to create experiences out here to reflect what is held within your being from seemingly a long time ago. But it's always a present thing. This is one of the tricks the ego does on time, is it says, ooh, the past has happened, you can't do anything about it, your hands are bloody with sin, so you're just screwed. And that's all bull. But that's part of the trick of time and the ego using the illusion of time so that you perceive that you can't undo the past. You can undo it right now. Every one of those that come up, you're essentially rewriting the script. You're letting that stuff go. Whew. This is a whole different kind of forgiveness than what we were taught in the world, huh? I mean, how many times were we taught, oh, you can forgive, but you'll never forget? You actually will forget. I mean, the Holy Spirit will come and with such grace. I think Robin mentioned that last week, that she forgave something, now she couldn't even remember what it was. The cleaning up of your consciousness will be so complete that you won't really even need to hold the memories. You won't be able to kind of self-access them if you're looking for them, but if they're helpful to communicate with someone else, you'll be surprised that they'll pop back up, but they won't carry the energetic signature that they did before. You won't feel shame or guilt or anything else. You'll be sitting with somebody and say, I used to feel the same way. I got caught masturbating when I was a kid too. I know what that feels like, but it's a big deal. It's all gone, it's done, whatever it is, so that you can actually exchange, take that energy that you've let go of and then extend that as a gift to someone else. So choosing again, all you're undoing is a past choice. And ultimately you get to the point where you undo the choice for separation. That's the choice we're actually getting to undoing. But sometimes we have to learn to choose again, where we've been choosing unconsciously and habitually, to choose consciously so that you can undo the choice that we all made to be separate or to play like we were.
Know you the experience of looking back in your life and suddenly seeing a scene in which you now know you behaved selfishly from ego, that you were manipulative or cunning or hurtful, or you recognize, my God, I was really in judgment of that person. If only I could go back and undo it. Know you that feeling? I say unto you, you can, because everything is present. There is no such thing as past and future. There is only now. So when you have that thought or that memory, it's coming to you for a very specific reason. As a soul, you have learned about forgiveness and how to undo the effects of your previous choices. And so it is being presented to you, yet again, that you might make a new choice. So when that old memory comes, stay with it, look at it, recognize how judgment worked at that time, and then say to that person or to that event, I judge you not. I extend forgiveness to myself for what I have created. I embrace you and I love you, and I free you to be yourself, and I bless you with the blessing of Christ. Then see that image or memory begin to gently dissolve into light until there's no trace of it left, and be done with it.
Forgiveness really is this simple. Our minds are so contracted that we think it can't be this simple. It cannot be this simple. It is this simple. You're welcome to make it hard or take a long time or use all kinds of modalities, but it's simple choice. It's incredible the power that each and every one of you have. I mean, you had the incredible power to create the perception of yourself as guilty and as sinned and as bada, 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 bada. So you have the same Same power to create yourself absolutely radiantly innocent, to bless yourself with the blessing of Christ and everyone and everything else. And then live in that simple choice. I mean, we just can't believe that it's this simple. I didn't believe it. I was like, Jesus, I don't believe it's that simple, man. He kept saying, it's that simple, it's that simple, it's that simple. If you want to make it complicated, go ahead and make it complicated. But it's that simple. We can all relate to this. But would you allow the truth to drop in your consciousness that by the power of your choice, and when I say your choice, you're choosing as Christ. You may perceive that you're choosing as body-mind, but you're choosing as Christ to say, I'm no longer going to sleep. I'm no longer going to dream. I did all these things to sleep, to dream, to experience. What would it be like? Let it go. Unless you want to keep dreaming. If you want to keep dreaming, fine. No harm's being done. So nowhere in his whole modality of forgiveness does he start with guilt. Nowhere. Innocence all the way around.
And right away, the mind says, yes, but when I kicked that little boy in the shins when I was 4 years old just to watch him scream, he's not here, isn't he? The body is not here, but the body is not quite the soul. And all minds are joined. It means that where you extend forgiveness within the consciousness, within your emotional field to another, whether they be physically present or not, you are extending to them exactly what you would extend to them if they were physically in front of you. Because you see, even if they were, they still have to receive it, don't they? They still have their choice to make, whether to accept your forgiveness or to remain in judgment of you. And that's their issue, not yours. Understand then that you are dealing with consciousness. You are not a physical being. You are spirit. And you are intimately linked with all minds and all times. Therefore, forgiveness of another can occur any time you decide that it can occur. Anyone you've ever believed has wronged you can be forgiven by you in this very moment. Any time you've judged another and therefore been in judgment of yourself, you can undo that in the very present moment, simply by making a different choice.
Well, that's pretty powerful. That undoes the whole concept of time and condemnation. I know it's hard for our minds to believe, but you are everywhere and every when, right now. There's nothing outside of what you are. There's nothing beyond your ability. And all of it is driven by the simple choice to be whatever it is you choose to be. I can tell you the example of this. I had someone come sit with me, and this guy had not talked to his mother in 10 years. And we talked about this, and he talked about how it was so deep and so bad and so, and how many of us here have some estranged relationship like that. And I shared with him this. I said, are you willing to let it go, truly, to just say, I don't want this barrier anymore? And the next day his mom calls him, and they haven't talked in 10 years. And it was all gone for her too. So don't think this is all hocus pocus. The mind that's rooted in wanting you to be separate, that consciousness, will try and make it really, really hard and complicated and say you got to do all kinds of, processes and everything else. You can do it that way if you want, and there are plenty of modalities out there that do it that way. It's a whole lot quicker and easy simply to choose to release and let go. And I do it authentically. I mean, you got to really mean it. It's not like you can just say a bunch of words, hocus pocus. That's not going to do it. But authentically doing it. And why not? Try it. You'll be amazed. Because it's going to be erased from the one mind, not just your mind. That other person shares the same mind you do. So when it's erased, you'll start to have interactions with people that you thought were challenged relationships. And all of a sudden, it'll just kind of be gone. And then you'll be like, dude, this forgiveness thing rocks. How much more of this can I do? And you'll start forgiving everything just because it's so much fun. So remember, despite the fact that you perceive yourself as a body and you think you need to be in physical proximity, or someone has died and you can't communicate with them anymore, completely unequivocally untrue. You can do it within your consciousness because all minds are one. All minds are connected. So try it. So each one of you now, if you have someone that you've got a beef with, and there's great fear, the ego will say, I don't want to pick up the phone and call them because there's just fear of more conflict. You don't have to. You can do it all within your consciousness, and it's done just as thoroughly and just as completely. If you feel compelled to pick the phone up, do. I'm not saying don't do that. But if you've got somebody that you've been holding a beef with, just take a moment right now, very simply, and do what he's suggesting. Now, how many of you feel lighter? And many of you got much more than one. I could feel it. When you open that willingness to who am I kind of holding a beef against, more than one started rolling up into your consciousness. So that's just showing you got plenty of opportunities to forgive. And you don't have to wait for the world to come push your buttons. It's a simple question. Holy Spirit, show me, where am I holding a grievance that I have forgotten about? Whoop! And it'll pop up in your mind. You go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was holding on to that. Thank you. I'll let that go. What's the next one? What's the next one? So you can spend the time that you spend thinking and judging and doing all kinds of other stuff. This is a better use of time. And each of you, something came up for each and every one of you. So the Spirit's within you, lobbing them up there like big softballs. All you got to do is hit it with the bat of forgiveness. I mean, people talk all the time that I don't have any dialogue with the Holy Spirit. There's no, I'm not getting any help. I don't have any guides. If something came up in your consciousness, where did it come from? That's love inside you going, oh, I hear. You want to wake up? Great. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. And the mind will sometimes say, oh, no, I don't want to have to look at it. I just want it all to go away. You created it. You had it come into your field of awareness and said, ooh, that's a big juicy one. I can create separation with that one. I'll hold on to that. I want to keep it. You created it. So you have to let it go. It can't be done for you. There is no power greater than what you are. You are divinity itself. There's nothing outside of you that would say, I can do that for you. Because there were plenty of times, I was still working on the old Christian thing. I was like, Jesus, take away my sins. He's like, dude, they're your sins. I'm like, I thought you died for our sins. He goes, I died to show you there was no sin. You still think there is. You have to let it go. You have to choose again where you chose separation, where you chose fear, where you chose guilt. I was like, I don't know how to do that. I mean, the mind was like, oh, that's just too much. Oh my God, there's so... And it's like, no, I'll show you. It's easy. I mean, you guys all just did it. Your salvation is no harder than what you just did. You want peace? Use some of your time to do what you just did. Love was right there. Threw it right up into your awareness for you. Whew. So thank you all. Because, in doing that, you set every being free. Every being is a little more expansive because you chose to release something. Because it's all one mind.
Rest assured, you will continue to project upon others what remains unhealed, unforgiven within yourself. Each time you react to another, you are being given a sign that there's some kind of energy that's been presented to your awareness that you have not forgiven within yourself. If someone is critical and that pushes your buttons every time they're critical, rest assured you have not healed that part of your own beingness, that part of your own experience of being critical of others. Whether it's occurring now or whether it seems to be a pattern that you have interrupted and no longer do, you're still not forgiving yourself for having identified with that energy. Use your ordinary experience then, and each day to observe what pushes your buttons. And if you will stay with it, and in just a moment we will give you a very simple technique for doing so, if you can stay with it, it will reveal to you the energies that are in need of your forgiveness.
So the whole universe is conspiring to wake each and every being up. And don't we all get hundreds of opportunities a day to be pissed off, to be frustrated, to make judgments, to feel all these energies? If everyone knew it was really just a simple choice to go, oh my gosh, I see that. What if I chose again? So he's talking about living your life full out. Run it life. When he told me that fear was what I needed to move through, because I had it, you've all got it. Look in your consciousness. You've got doors that say, do not enter. Do not enter. Bad memories here. Fear here. Don't think about this potential consequence, whatever it is. And all that's just energy of constriction. And it just wants to stay within your being. So I started running at all those things I was fearful of. Everything. And when I realized fear was nothing but a contraction around this energy rather than just letting the energy pass, wow, forgiveness started to become a whole lot fun. And when you start to feel spacious and you recognize how easy it is to feel spacious and to be at peace with a simple choice, wow, you start to be really conscious and become increasingly conscious and making choices consciously. Because when you're getting your buttons pushed and you have a reaction, isn't it happening so fast that you don't even recognize where you chose it? But if you're feeling it, back to the first axiom, you can't experience anything that you have not chosen and are creating. So all these are opportunities to show you where you're unconsciously in a sleeping state, choosing things and judging them. So when they come, we all like to be mad at the button pushers and go, God, those people, if they just wouldn't, blah, 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 blah. They're your saviors. They're the ones that are showing you, do you see where you're holding these judgments? So they bring you a great gift. Every person that pushes your buttons is offering you, forgiveness opportunities on a silver platter. And you can actually set yourself free and them if you'll take the opportunity and do the forgiveness. Whew. Simple. Remember, he said in every lesson so far, simple, it's not serious. Don't make it a burden. Don't make it heavy. That's all energy of fear, and it doesn't need to be that way.
The technique is quite simple. As you go through your life, observe when you feel as though you are in contraction. Are muscles of your body tight? Is the breath very shallow? Does your voice become faster or louder when you speak about some energy in someone else? That's a sign that you need to do healing within yourself. When you recognize that these kinds of signs are going on, in other words, life has presented you with an opportunity to be disturbed. That is a sign that there's something that requires healing.
It's just totally socially taboo to be in peace in this world. Under every situation and under every circumstance. That's Christ. Unperturbable, even if you're being pinned on a cross. So all those opportunities and all those beliefs that say, oh, this is really bad and everybody needs to jump on the bandwagon, and if everybody changed their belief about this or about that, you can continue to play that game if you want, but you can let all of that go. And the mind will try to talk you into and out of, and you all already know the degree to which you can rationalize and justify almost anything, preemptively and post-situation. The mind is excellent at that. And oftentimes we're so identified with those thoughts running around in our mind that we don't recognize the signs which the body won't lie to you. You know, I remember Cindy and I were in an argument one time, and she goes, "I'm not angry." I was like, wow, you know, that she actually believed the thought that she wasn't angry, but it was really obvious that there was a great deal of anger there. I mean, it was comical. It was so, you know, the disassociation was so complete. So look within your body. Anytime you're carrying tension, and if you look right now, each and every one of you, if I just said relax, something would relax more than it was. Well, that's some kind of contraction in your being. It's funny because the body becomes, it almost feels like fluid rather than something that's solid. It gets to be very, very spacious. And how many of us have used this faster, louder voice to try and make a point? I mean, watch those reality TV shows. All that really is a recognition of fear within, and we try with bombasticness or something to try and cover up our own fear, and then we're like that. Someone yells, so we're like, whoa, look over there, and we all fall for it. And it's all just opportunities to forgive. And if you don't have enough in your day, sit down and watch the TV show that you hate the most, and you will have opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. He'll say, or I think he said it in lesson 1, what would it be like to walk in this world where nothing is unacceptable? Is your peace more valuable than your perceptions of what's right and what's wrong and what should be and what shouldn't be? Can you be divinely selfish enough to be in the peace of God regardless of what seems to be happening? I can assure you God's not going to kick you out and say, nope, you're not supposed to be at peace. You're supposed to be having the drama that everyone else is going through. If you're in this room, you said, I've had enough drama. I've done reality TV in my own life, and I've had enough. Here, there.
So therefore, count it a blessing if you feel disturbed. Turn your awareness from what you think is causing the disturbance and remember the first axiom. I am the source of my experience. I'm feeling disturbed. What is it in me that needs to be healed? Begin to breathe deeply with the body and rhythmically. Let the body soften and relax and ask, what is it within this person's energy that's really pushing my button? And you will see right away, they are so critical. Criticism pushes my buttons. Where have I been critical of others? And right away it might hit you, well, I'm being critical because they're critical.
How many of us justify our behaviors based on someone else's behaviors? I mean, our daughters fight, and it's like she started it, and who knows which one was the first one, 15 years ago that actually struck the first blow. But they're still justifying everything based on what someone else did. Let all that go. You'll be shown if you really want to know. When you ask, what is it? Because when you're asking, what is it that's causing this? You're not asking the ego. You're asking the spirit because you're saying, I don't want to feel this way anymore. The ego would give you a plan, well, stay away from that person. Well, I don't know about you, but there are lots of people in the world and it's really hard to stay away from everybody. So wouldn't you rather heal it within yourself so that maybe the next time you found someone that pushed your buttons, you could actually look on them with loving compassion and gentleness, and extend them the forgiveness which you've already accepted for yourself. Be so divinely selfish that you've got divinity to give everybody. Wow, that's a whole different way to live. So when the Spirit shows you, oh, it's critical, the mind will want to jump in there and make a story about the justification of the criticalness. Just ignore that. Just ignore it. We've all been critical. We've all been judgmental. That was the point. That's what we came here to do. We've all done it perfectly. God's not pissed off. God gave us full inheritance like the prodigal son. Go do what you will. Stephen, I think it was your idea to do this. I think it was you. We made that choice collectively. Nobody's here by accident. And everybody goes home together. We're just kind of on the leading edge of that. It took us 2,000 years from the message that Jeshua brought us to actually hear it, but that's okay. Breathe deeply in the body and rhythmically. It's really important that you don't just do this in your mind. It's not just about a bunch of words chasing a bunch of other words. You cannot change this energy by just slapping mantras on it or slapping words on it. It really is important that you actually bring the fullness of your being, body, mind, spirit, kind of the whole thing. The spirit's there because it's showing you the stuff. The mind's there just to really get out of the way, but use the body to actually breathe into and feel what that energy is. And when you get really good at this, when you let it go, you will feel it physically release. You'll get plenty of indications that this forgiveness stuff is legit and starts working. And that peace that comes over your body will be such a pleasant feeling. It'll get almost orgasmically ecstatic kind of feeling. You'll want more and more and more of that.
Or memories will come back. Distasteful memories, if you're judging them, let them come back. Continue to breathe and relax. Look upon that energy of being critical. Honor it. Love it. For it is a creation. It is your creations coming back to you, that you might embrace them and transform them. And in that example, just stay with it. Look at it. Being critical. Yes, I can sure be critical. I've been that way in the past. I know that energy very well. Look upon a scene in your memory in which you have been the one being critical. Look upon it with deep honesty and sincerity and say to yourself, I forgive me for being critical. I forgive my judgment of myself. I choose to teach only love. Watch that image disappear from your mind, dissolve from your mind, and bring it back to the present moment and that person that just pushed your button. Again, you don't need to say anything to them at all, although you might. But within yourself, forgive them for allowing the energy of being critical to temporarily make a home in their mind, and merely ask the Holy Spirit to replace your perception with the truth. Ask to see the innocent light within them.
That's simple enough. I mean, that's present forgiveness. It's not any more complicated than that. And none of us are short of opportunities. None of us are short of opportunities to do just that. So forgive yourself for to choose to be trying to pull off the impossible and be separate from God. In order to do that, it's like we had to take our whole being, which was infinite, and we had to pack it full of all this negative judgment. I mean, we had to contract ourselves from the infinite down to the size and shape of this tiny little body. At least in our mind, we perceive that we've done that. So, it's kind of like the ego was a snow vacation. So you had to have all kinds of warm weather clothes. The fact of the matter is you live on the beach. You don't need your warm weather clothes. So throw them all out. Get rid of all of them. Let them all go. Yes, I was critical. Who else? Anyone else judgmental? Woohoo! Isn't it great that, so that's the game we came to play. Does any of us have to continue to do it and be guilty of it? Because you feel guilty when you judge. You know you do. That's what a lot of that righteousness is. You're trying to cover up the fact that you feel guilty. And then you get really loud about it. Did you see da-da-da-da-da-da-da? This is so loving and so gentle. But doesn't the love start first with you? Divine selfishness. When you get completely divinely selfish, something will happen within your being and you'll see the divine self everywhere. And you know what? I love our Father for giving us the ability to create this creatively. To create judgment, to create fear, to create condemnation, to create all that stuff. And know that it had no consequence, that we could play with those toys as long as we chose, and we were ready to let them go and wake up, we could do so. No harm, no foul, no consequence. Whew, that's big love. That's big love. So who's ready to forgive themselves for being critical? Does anyone here want to withhold anyone else's ability to forgive themselves for being critical? So since you're forgiving yourself for having been critical, how much easier it is for you to extend that forgiveness. The funny thing is, when you're finished forgiving, your being, its purpose will be for giving away everything that you have accepted in yourself. Your own peace, your own joy, your own happiness. You become the vehicle through which things are given. Love, freedom, joy, happiness, innocence, peace. I mean, isn't that what we're all getting here? As love comes through this mind to say, wow, we don't need to sit in pews anymore and be, walk out of there feeling guilty. You guys are welcome to walk out of here free as can be. Absolutely innocent and absolutely free.
As you cultivate this, you'll become very, very good at it. You'll be able to do it that fast. And once you begin to see the light in them, you can ask the Holy Spirit, what is this critical energy in them masking? What are they really crying out for? And then you will feel compassion, for it will be revealed to you why they are hurting inside. And lo and behold, instead of being reactionary with them, you just might be compassionate. Your choice of words, your own behavior, might turn out to be different than you could have ever imagined, and yet through you will be channeled exactly what serves them.
Wow. I mean, this is really the way it goes. When you start waking up to how simple liberation is, to how simple forgiveness is, you'll want to give it away. You'll understand the burden that you carried, and you'll see others carrying that burden, and you'll know the unnecessity for them to carry it. And you'll want to share with them. You'll want to give them another opportunity to choose again. And the deeper you get into this, the more pure your mind gets, the clearer imagery, knowingness you'll get about what it is that's affecting them. And usually it comes with a similar recollection of your own experience of that energy. So that you know, oh yes, I know the energy of abuse. Feeling it and being the abuser. I know what manipulation is like. But you, in having let it go in yourself, now have a gift to extend to them. I used to feel that way too. But I saw the light. And I don't mean in some hokey new age, born again kind of thing. In a genuine compassion to say, I know how you're imprisoning yourself because I was once in prison too. Can I extend to you what I learned? And you'll be amazed at how welcome that would be because you're extending it energetically. And the Spirit's in them too. One mind is in them. And when you come with that generosity, it's usually met with great relief. Great, great, glorious relief. Become a channel of love. It's what you are anyway. Why not give it a try? So next week we'll complete the what?
Can I say something?
Of course. You can say whatever you'd like.
this is when John Mark and I did the dialogue about what it's like to wake up, this transformative power of forgiveness is, I think, part of what we tried to share. And when we were reading earlier in the lesson where it was talking about being divinely selfish, when this process first started, I did have very strong feelings about what John Mark was experiencing as being very selfish on his part. And so there was a rough patch there for a while. But staying with it and seeing the transformation within him and his ability to experience forgiveness and offer it in return created tremendous amount of release in me, and this example life for me to be able to see. And it really did come to where it was the giving through him that helped me to be able to understand what forgiveness was and deeply delve into the process of self-forgiveness. So, thank you, dear.
You bet, honey. I'm glad that, that's love's gift. You deserve it. Everyone deserves it. It's our own inheritance, so to speak. So are you willing to be divinely selfish? That your own peace is more important than anything. Because you can't give away what you don't have. You can try, and haven't we all tried to give away from our own emptiness, only to find more emptiness, only to find that giving a damn burden? Oh God, that you're never appreciated, it's never respected, it's never enough. It's like, when am I going to get anything back? Everybody's taken from me. Shit. Become divinely selfish and accept all that you are, your own absolute innocence, your divinity for yourself completely. And like Jeshua said 2,000 years ago, your cup will frigging runneth over. That's not to say everyone will want to drink from that cup. They may not be ready. Big deal. They're given an infinite share whenever they're ready for it. And this is simply what's happening all over this planet, is more and more beings are waking up to this. Rather than being a society of takers, we become givers of peace, which is our own divine nature and our own inheritance. So I'm glad you stuck it out, Cindy.
I'm glad you did too.
Well, I'd given up the choice not to. So I'm so grateful to be able to give this, which is nothing other than your own truth. And despite the mind's objections, each of you can feel deep inside that this is true. Maybe you can, I don't know. If you're not, are you willing to give it a try? I think it's worth it. It doesn't take a lot of time, it's not hard, and it's a glorious gift. If waking up and setting yourself free, liberating yourself, is this easy, boy, give it a really, really authentic shot. And it'll get so good at it, you'll want to keep doing it. In the last part of this lesson, he's going to share with us how transformative the power of his forgiveness was on someone else. He's going to give an example of his own life when he was being nailed to the cross, and how he looked at the Roman soldier who was nailing him to the cross with such openness, with such understanding, with such love and forgiveness, that it transformed that guy's life. Absolutely transformed it. When someone's hitting themselves in the head with a hammer, and you can come up in gentle compassion and say, I used to do that too, but it's not necessary. Let me take that hammer from your hand and let's see what we can do together. So in your divinity, you have absolutely everything to give because you are everything. Would you not know that for yourself? And then give the gift, and all you're giving is the gift of remembrance. You're not giving anyone anything they don't have already. But it's beautiful to give everyone the gift of remembrance. So I'm grateful to grace that awoke me to the truth so that I could extend that same truth to you. that our eternal nature is absolute innocence and can't be otherwise. It cannot be otherwise. The beings who are here, which are you, the one being, because it is all one, I am eternally grateful to all that is. We love you with an absolutely infinite love and a perfect peace. Good night.
Questions?
Oh, does anyone have any questions? Did anyone miss the simplicity of forgiveness and need a quick review?
Please.
Okay. Accept that I too know this energy when it comes up within you. Yes, I created this. Is this something I want to keep anymore? No. Of course I had to play this game, and then simply let it go. It's no harder than that. And thank the button pushers, whether they're the politicians or the environmentalists or the grocery store clerks, whoever they are, thank them. Because they're setting you free. They're giving you the opportunity to see what you've hidden in your consciousness. Yes?
I say I've heard it 1,000 times, but there only is right now.
There is only right now. And thank you for the lead-in, David. That's actually next week's dialogue. This Friday's dialogue is time and the illusion of time and how that is conspiring in this game of separation. It's all it is a game. It's no big deal. But there is only now. Who's happy now? Who's going to walk out this door tonight claiming your full divine selfishness? You don't have to feel anything you don't want to feel or experience anything you don't want to experience. You are absolutely free. Yes, Deborah, you too.
Hey, I bought my shirt. Happy.
Yes! Yes! Thank you. Rock on. So love offering real quick for those of you who are watching online or will watch later when it's on Vimeo. You can go to onewhowakes.org. In the upper right-hand corner is a give button. If you could click on that if you're moved to give, we'd certainly appreciate it. This is all that supports the family that I live with, is extending love in this way. This is I call it plurk. It's more play than work, so I call it plurk. But if you would give a donation, those of you who are here, there's a basket on the other side of the fireplace.